welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast. The entire crew is here today as we move on to the month of February, and February is a month that it's kind of, I don't know. I hate February. That's all I'm going to say.
It's the shortest month of the year.
It's short, and it's usually cold and rainy sometimes, and all this love shit in the air and all that crap, and it can just all go to hell for all I care. But that's just February. But but Super Bowl's this weekend, so I guess that's kind of cool. And last week we all got together, hung out for Long's birthday, a little late birthday celebration, watched Royal Rumble. That was fun. And then interesting shenanigans later that evening.
Yeah,
which was something. Oh.
The biscuit.
The Frank, the biscuit was there, and old ex-host of the show. And let's just say Frank is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's putting it quite mildly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it was a fun Saturday last Saturday. And,
it was.
Had a good time. Good time watching the Royal Rumble main event. Jey Uso eating his way to WrestleMania, so that was pretty cool.
Your both of your boys were glued to the TV.
Oh yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, it's good to have Michael do give me the recap on some of the stuff on the individual stories going on.
He's become a wrestling encyclopedia, man. He can pull stuff out from YouTube he's watched from the last several years. He's gotten really good at it.
That's good.
But yeah, man, it was fun. It was a good time. Some beer was drank, some food was eaten, and some wrestling was watched, and hanging out with some good friends. So it was good times. And I've had a long week at work, inventory and all that good crap. So I'm like ready to do a little podcasting here and then talk a movie, and we're gonna do a little top 5 later and have some fun. And we won't get into specifics of Mr. Long being here, but he's a little upset. So we're here to cheer him up and get him excited and have a little fun.
Yay!
Yes.
But otherwise, guys, hello.
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 Well, I mean, this week, I'm glad we're here. There's some interesting media stuff that showed up too, on the internet, on YouTube. So I can't wait for you to get into that, Mark. And yeah, I'll do the best I can with just the amount of sleep I've had. Sleep and stress
Sleep's overrated. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. McMahon.
It used to be until I turned about 40. Then I realized that sleep's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we can get right into it. There was a couple of new trailers that came out this week. First off, Fantastic Four: First Steps. I liked the trailer. I thought it was an interesting look, kind of a 1960s vibe kind of going on. I like the Fantastic Car. That was pretty cool. I like the looks of all the characters. The little tease at the end with Galacticus was cool. I think my biggest question I asked from watching this trailer was, so how are they going to retcon the Fantastic Four into this? Where have they been for the last 40 years? They weren't there to help fight Thanos. That's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Like the Spider-Man retcon, okay, it worked. It was believable, but how are you going to retcon a fucking supergroup that lives in New York City and they have been around for 40 years? So I think it's a really interesting choice to have this movie be a period piece. And
I
know there's a theory that it's a multiverse movie that's not on the same Earth. I know I've heard that theory too, which is the theory is why Galacticus is smaller than he should be. So if that's the route they're going, okay.
It's smaller because the budget can't afford it.
like the 2004 Silver Surfer movie, where he was a cloud.
Oh God, yeah.
So that's some of my initial thoughts. Definitely, I'm kind of excited about it though. It looks cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am too. My only caveat is the Thing.
Yes.
The Thing looks cool, but he doesn't sound he just sounds like a regular human being. So maybe it's just because it's just an early trailer, and they haven't gone through post production to change the guy's voice a bit. But it's a little too normal for my tastes, for being the Thing. But other than that, the Thing looks great. He doesn't sound great, but he looks great.
I think Michael Chiklis pulled off the "it's clobbering time"
Yeah,
thing
Michael
better.
Chiklis was. Yeah, I mean the practical effects on him look pretty good,
They weren't
and I
bad,
know,
yeah.
and I know that it's a little, even for the Thing, it's a little uncanny the way it looks, but it's still, I think, early production, CGI work. So I'm sure it'll have time to be improved upon by the time it's
Mhm.
released. So a couple of shaders here, more lighting there, it'll look fine.
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I was thinking the same thing. That was my only takeaway. Everything else looks good. Seeing a lot of memes with Galacticus and a giant shadow that's shaped like a certain thing covering a city. It said "big things are coming." Looked like the outline of a big old schlong.
I'm not even going to address that.
So the internet trolls are
Funny you
making
noticed that.
galactic
only
penis jokes.
people with penis on the brain notice that. But okay.
It'd be like that.
Because I didn't notice that at all, so I must not have penis on my brain. So I'm just saying, if you want to have penis on your brain, Matt, then by all means, I'm not going to judge you, brother.
I may have taken a screenshot of it. No, I didn't.
No, we don't. We really, it's okay. I don't need the meme, But
I took a
me,
screenshot of
again,
another meme.
You want to have penis on your brain, it's all be it, sir. We don't judge on the Rebel Radio podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's a teaser trailer, so I think my favorite part of it was what's her name, Kirby as Susan Storm. She looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like Pedro, but I do feel, I wouldn't say miscast, just maybe not who I picture as Mr. Fantastic.
Well, they already gave us Krasinski, so we were kind of like thinking like a Krasinski type.
Yeah,
at least I was, but.
So it's fine. I don't know who the kid is that plays Johnny Storm. I don't really recognize him.
I think he's being overexposed, to be fair.
Pedro, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, he's in The Last of Us. He was in Wonder Woman.
Mandalorian.
He was in Mandalorian.
And massive weight. Yeah,
but nobody saw that movie.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
only if you were a Cage fan.
Major exposure is what Long is in mentioning, but yeah, he is in a lot of stuff.
Mandalorian.
I remember Samuel L. Jackson had that issue too back in his peak. He was like almost in everything.
Everything
during the peak of his career.
And so yeah, I mean, it was strangely, it was one thing I will say about the Fantastic Four trailer is it's not what I expected. Which I think was kind of cool. I was kind of expecting to really look like your typical Marvel film, and it didn't, I think, due to the 1960s look to it. I did not expect to see the Fantastic Car, which I thought was really cool. So there were some surprises in it. And again, I'm wondering how it's going to play into things. How do you explain where they've been for 40 years? I think it's probably a multiverse movie. I think that's the best way to explain this, that it doesn't take place on the same Earth. And we'll go from there, and we'll see. So.
Yeah.
So, and then the other new trailer we got this week was Jurassic World Rebirth. It looks like the start of a possible third trilogy in this franchise that's been running since 1992, 93.
93.
I guess when Fast and Furious ran out of gas.
Hey, they weren't even using gas anymore. Weren't they using like nuclear fusion and flying into space?
I don't know, Matt.
Fighting Thanos.
You're the one who's watched them all, Matt.
I never watched.
Yeah,
didn't they like pull Paul Walker from his grave and like fucking reanimated him?
So they finished that last movie that he had started. with his brother, and then used AI to like do a face swap thing to finish it out.
Oh
But then
boy.
it's like they on the last one they teased Brian's car driving up to the barbecue at the house again, and so they're like, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna raise Paul Walker's character from the grave again? It's like and do the AI, the face AI,
Mm.
and it's like I get it. It was a very tough loss, and he was an important
Look what you did,
face to
Lawson.
that franchise. But it's
Look
like
what you did.
leave the man be.
You got him going on a Fast and Furious tirade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's strange about this is the second time that Fast and Furious has shown up in a conversation today, because it happened at work earlier today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because someone made a joke about a Corona.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite, and they were saying, someone said it was their favorite beer. And I'm like, no one likes Corona except for Vin Diesel. And he busted out with like, oh, it's family, man. I'm like, holy shit, he got the joke.
Oh, man. That's funny.
But anyways,
but
if Universal can't go with a dark universe and wait a minute, Paramount, Fast and Furious belongs to Paramount, right?
No, it's Universal.
Oh, it's Universal. Yeah. So that's run to the ground. It's like, yeah, let's do Jurassic Park and run that to the ground too.
Well, I mean, I think Jurassic World Rebirth looks really cool though.
Yeah, I'd rather watch dinosaurs than that Vin Diesel guy. And
I enjoyed Jurassic
zombie
World.
Paul Walker.
I enjoyed Jurassic World. I did. The second one was in. Then I thought Dominion was better than people gave it credit for. I thought the third one was pretty good.
Yeah.
But this one looks really cool, man. It's like Indiana Jones meets Jurassic Park in some ways. It looks like a lot of adventure and excitement. And I think it's cool that Scarlett Johansson has been wanting to be in a Jurassic Park movie since she became an actress, and she's been lobbying for it, and she finally got it. I think that's pretty cool to follow your dream type deal, and she finally got to be in a movie. I thought it was cool that dinosaurs, they leave them a lot of mystery in it. They don't show us a whole lot. It kind of reminds me of 1992, 93 when we were waiting for Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Yeah. They just sort of teased you. They gave you an appetizer, but they didn't give you the whole giant titty, and that's kind of how I felt about this trailer.
Yep.
That's one way of putting it.
Or the chick just pulls down, halfway so you see her cleavage, and then she pulls them right back up, while she's sitting in her garage. Mark.
I'm not addressing you. I'm already done with you in this podcast today.
That one's for the biscuit. If the biscuit listens to the show, he knows.
Yeah. Gareth Edwards is directing the new one? I did not know that.
Yeah, that's Gareth Edwards, yeah.
Okay.
I wonder there's so much mystery to the dinosaurs.
There were rumors at one time about Colin Trevorrow coming back to direct. He had directed Jurassic World, and I guess I didn't realize it was Gareth Edwards. Well, that's really cool because he has an amazing cinematography eye for sure. His films are always extremely well shot, from his Godzilla to his Rogue One to his independent film Monsters, which is a really uniquely shot film. So I think that's cool. I did not know that. And I'm usually pretty good about following what's going on. I didn't even realize he was the director of that film. So now I'm a little more hyped now. It's like, hell yeah. Give me a Gareth Edwards Jurassic Park movie. We already know you can pull off monsters. Only this one looks more colorful. That's my one beef with the 2014 Godzilla. It's very dark. There's parts where it's very hard to tell what's going on.
I have the 4K, and it looks much brighter.
It's sharper. I have to look and see what my digital copy is. If it's 4K
the transfer on the 4K Godzilla is significantly better. You can actually see the action.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. It was a very dark film.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. I didn't realize he was directing that. So that's going to be pretty awesome to see that in theater. Man, July is a packed freaking month. I mean, it's Superman, Jurassic Park, and Fantastic Four all in that month. So save your pennies, folks. You got a lot of movies to go see that month.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, man, that's like the big trailers this week, if I remember correctly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other major news that I can think of. Just a couple new trailers and, And we wait for, I think, looks like the hype train's been popping up this week for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I've noticed a lot of articles and stuff, which means the new trailer is probably coming when they do that kind of stuff. So it's summer movie season is just about upon us. And then next week we have Captain America Brave New World with very little hype behind it, it feels like. So, yeah.
I saw they released one of the fight scenes to try and hype it up a little bit more.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford's been doing some press for it, And I love how his response to people asked him how he felt about Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny not doing well at the box office. And his answer was like, yeah, shit happens. I made the movie for myself and for fans.
Yeah.
Good for you, Harrison. I love that. I would love that comment. You're at age in his career. You don't need to fucking explain nothing. Hey, I made this because I wanted to. Good for you. And I still like Dial of Destiny. I know it's not everybody's favorite indie film, or it wasn't for everybody, but I liked it. So I'm fine with it. And so it's all good. So yeah, man. So that said, I guess I took the kids to see Dogman. If we're talking about movies in theaters, man, it was bizarre, weird, but strangely very entertaining. So the big kid kind of liked it too. It's
What's
from
the movie about?
Dogman. It's okay. It's this is a kid film,
Based
but
off the
yes,
book. Yeah.
it's based off the books from Dan Pikely or whatever his name is. He also did Captain Underpants, and they're very popular. It's essentially a cop whose best friend is a dog, and they get caught in an explosion, and they merge the dog's head onto the man's body. Yeah, it's pretty extreme for a kid's movie, but they do it in a kiddish way in the film. And he becomes Dogman, and he becomes a super cop, and he has to fight back against the evil cat, of course, that's terrorizing the city, and just shenanigans ensue. It's he doesn't talk; he barks as a dog. But there's humans in it too. It's one of those movies that you probably are finding a lot funnier if you're stoned or something. I don't know. But the kids loved it. The theater had a lot of kids in. It was very packed for a Sunday afternoon. I didn't even see what it did at the box office, but I imagine it did pretty well. But it was very entertaining. It was one of those movies that wasn't so weird that it took you out of it. It was just kind of you just have to put your weird hat on or your kid hat on watching this movie. But it wasn't like dumb or anything, I would say, but it wasn't like a Disney movie. It wasn't quite like it didn't speak to adults or anything, but it wasn't so dumb that an adult couldn't enjoy it. And it was kind of fun and goofy and Captain Underpants is weird. And so of course Dogman is weird too. This writer of those books, he uses his imagination. He writes children's stories and he has fun with it, and he doesn't apologize for it. I think that's the best way to apologize the best way to describe the writer of Captain Underpants and Dogman is like, you know what? I'm going to make what's in my imagination as an adult kid. And if you don't like it, oh, well, I think that's fair to say. And so it was interesting. But Wyatt had read the books, and he as soon as he saw the trailer back a few months ago, he's like, we're going. And he knew it came out, and he was not taking no for an answer, because I was going to go this weekend. I was like, but we ended up going to see it last weekend, and he enjoyed it. So he was very happy. And
good.
Daughter enjoyed it too. So it was good. And so I watched that. And then I sat down and watched a Guy Ritchie film I had not seen, because we're actually going to do a Guy Ritchie movie next week. And so I watched The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm not a huge Jake Gyllenhaal guy. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
But this was a good movie, man. It's in the Afghan war, and they use interpreters, as we all know, to help speak Arabic. And so he gets injured, and the interpreter carries him back to base and keeps him safe throughout all the Taliban that are chasing him, right? And but then when he gets back to the U.S., he finds out that the interpreter is now on the most wanted list by the Taliban, and he realizes, man, we put that man in danger at the cost of my life. And so through his he can't live with himself, so he ends up going back in to help rescue the interpreter. And it's a really solid war film. And I found it interesting because one thing I find about Guy Ritchie is he's known for his crime films and kind of quirky, but then you watch a movie like The Covenant, and it's complete opposite of what you would expect from a Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah, I couldn't believe Guy Ritchie directed it.
Right, and I feel like, man, if Guy Ritchie can do that and he can make these really great crime movies, I feel like this guy is a step away from making a possible, Oscar-winning masterpiece film. He's a good director, and The Covenant was really a really good unseen gem. A lot of people didn't see. I think it might have been, was it a COVID release maybe that came out, or maybe it wasn't even a COVID release, just during all these streaming stuff. It just didn't last in theaters.
It was released on streaming really quick.
Yeah, but it's a good film, man, and I was really surprised. I sat and watched it and I enjoyed it. Gyllenhaal's good in it, and it's a good movie. I recommend that, man, if you're looking for a solid war movie that's not overly violent like some war movies. Just tells a good story. There is a little violence in it, but it's nothing like Saving Private Ryan where his guts spilling everywhere. It just tells a good story. So that's kind of what I watched this week besides the feature film.
Matt, you go ahead.
Yeah. So trying to figure out something to watch, and Jackie came upon a movie with Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon called You're Cordially Invited. And it's I don't know if it's a rom-com, but I guess it's kind of a rom-com. But you know what? Ming Chen's having a rom-com event at Coral Sword this Saturday, so I guess rom-coms are cool. It's got, basically two families scheduled a wedding on the same day, and the place didn't realize it. And there's some hostilities that ensue. And Will Ferrell ends up together with Reese Witherspoon at the end. And Will Ferrell sings in it because we all know Will Ferrell loves singing. And it's okay. There's really nothing else on. So I guess if you're down to the bottom of the barrel with these new movies that have come out and you're just waiting for Captain America next week, there is that. It's streaming on Prime. And then other than that, I've been seeing a lot of I kept seeing a lot of Kenny Powers stuff come through my feed, and I knew who he was, but I didn't know who he was or the character was. And it's the Eastbound and Down character. That was he was the baseball player that kind of lost his fastball, and he's got a crazy big ego and a mullet. And I'm on the first season.
Dear God, don't tell me you think that guy's funny.
The quotes are funny.
Dude is not funny at all.
You talking about Eastbound and you talking about Danny McBride?
Yeah,
that dude is not funny. No, he's not.
So some of the stuff
he does the funny. Fat guy schlick. Oh, I'm fat and with a beard, and people think I'm funny. He's stupid. Oh man,
you haven't seen Your Highness, haven't you?
I have not.
No, it looked terrible. I didn't want to watch that crap.
Well, how do you know it's terrible if you haven't seen it?
That guy's not funny, man.
I think he's funny. He stole the scene when Pineapple Express, and they were.
That's the only time he works in really small bits like that.
He kept getting shot and stuff at the end. He should be dead, and he's still. Yeah, I know it's acting and all that stuff, but he's still I'm still alive. And he's also hurt really good in the Fabulous Gemstones too, spoofing off the evangelical televangelists.
Yeah.
What else? What else has he been good in?
He was in Tropic Thunder. He was the pyrotechnics guy.
Yeah.
In Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, he didn't say I'm fat. I'm fat. He was also funny in what was that End of the World movie with Seth Rogen?
Oh, This Is the End?
Yeah. This is the end. He was pretty funny at that too.
I ended up looking up some of the quotes from Kenny Powers, and the quotes are just hilarious to me. One of them is, "I've been blessed with many things in life: an arm like a damn rocket, a cock like a Burmese python, and the mind of a fucking scientist." And I'm like, that's a funny quote. And then I'm just an average American with extraordinary hair. That's a funny quote to me. And then lastly, I have 2 hard rules I live by. I don't fuck with the devil, and I never do tag teams with blood relatives. I'm just like, these are some out of pocket things. I bet like something Frank would say. That's maybe why I like this. So this is like Frank. If Frank,
You know what? You hit it on the nose. Maybe he reminds Mark too much of Frank. And,
that could be it.
he's like, I'm trying to escape Frank.
Why look at
today."
Frank like he's a dumbass too? So there,
I'm just like, I was like, okay, Denny McBride reminds me of Frank.
Yeah,
Now I don't like him.
This could be
it's
it.
Like, yeah, that's the key right there, man. You've hit the nail right
I
there.
found it. I
You
found
the reason why he hates it.
the chewy center of you, Mark. I have
Yeah.
unraveled your deep secret.
the rom-com and that idiot.
Yep. He also says, "I'm wearing all black.
We don't
Outlaws
need more.
wear black. Figs and cocaine dealers wear white."
Anyway.
So, I basically
about you,
spent
Lon?
the last thanks. I basically spent the last 2 weeks really plugging away on Monster Hunter on the Switch.
Okay.
In anticipation of the new Monster Hunter game coming out later on in late February. I'm so excited, and it's just just you and a group of buddies chilling and killing monsters. That's all it
Simple.
is.
Get out
Yeah.
there, kill some monsters.
Yeah, and then you go for the next monster. If that monster's too strong, well, guess what? You go back to the weaker monsters to farm their materials to make better armor and weapons out of them. So, yeah, that's the gameplay loop, and I'm looking forward to it. And what's great is that the game is cross-play. So if I have it on PC, and Matt, you have it on Xbox, or Mark, you have it on PS5, we can all group together on Discord and some monsters.
And play Monster Hunter.
Hell yeah.
Getting a lot less games are not cross-platform though. Yeah.
Yeah, but this one's cross-platform. They're doing.
No, I'm saying almost majority of games now are starting.
Yeah.
You'll get a few games.
I misheard you.
Yeah, you still get a few games that don't cross from PC, but most of your Xbox PS5 games are almost all cross-platform now.
Yeah. The reason why it's working out that way is because it's all unified server.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably cheaper for them, I would imagine. Just unified servers.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the games, like the PC games that allow modification, are the ones that don't cross-platform yet. That's like WWE 2K, you can't cross-play because they allow modding on the PC version.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it seems like but it is cool that you can do that now, that you don't have to tell your buddy, oh, you don't own a PlayStation, you suck. But in Matt's case, he still sucks.
Yeah.
He's an Xbox guy.
Nintendo's still a holdout on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, Nintendo's always been like that. We're Nintendo. Our dick's bigger than you. Mario's packing down there, But also Nintendo though is also a different kind of gamer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And than the other systems. And most people in their house have one of the other systems and a Nintendo, usually. So, and I don't know. I haven't played my Switch in months because one of the Joy-Cons broke, and I just haven't had the desire to play it. So, yeah.
Well, the Switch 2 is coming out, so at least all of the games on the current Switch will work on the new Switch. So,
yeah. This is true. All right. Well, cool, man. I guess let's get into today's feature film then. A movie that is I don't know why we just sort of came out of left field with this one, but Jean-Claude Van-Damme is an actor. Jean-Claude is a known for his martial arts, and he kind of had an interesting career that in the late 80s and early 90s, where he made a lot of decent big budget pictures and a lot of B films, and kind of had almost a cult like following. Had some success to a certain level with certain movies.
the original Predator.
Yeah, the original Predator before his part was cut.
Yeah.
So but if you watch in action circles, you know who he is. Chances are you've seen one of his movies. But he actually has a few gems in there.
I'd
We
rather
cover.
watch his movies than freaking Steven
Oh,
Seagal.
absolutely. Like we
Oh,
covered Hard Target.
100%. Yeah.
We covered Hard Target. Bloodsport is a well-known cult film. Time
Time
Cop is a
Cop.
decent little
Yeah.
science fiction yarn. He's made some good stuff. And this
Inferno.
is what is that?
Inferno with Danny Trejo.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that one.
It's a good performance by him. He doesn't do a whole lot of action stuff, but
and one thing about him is he worked really hard. He was embarrassed that he couldn't speak a lot of good English, and he worked really hard in his early films to try to learn more English. He would always tell the directors to tell him the words so he could say them, and I appreciate that. He didn't want his voice dubbed in. He did his best, and this movie is probably, I think, one of his better action films. And it's not a great film. It's kind of cheesy and kind of silly, but man, it's extremely watchable. And that is Sudden Death. This is a straight up Die Hard clone where terrorists take over Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals with the vice president in attendance. They take over the owner's box where the vice president is and hold the vice president ransom until money is transferred. It's that simple. Jean-Claude Van Damme plays a fireman who's a fire inspector on site for the game, and his kids are there, and he figures out what's going on, and he has to pull a John McClane and fight back against the terrorists. Lots of dumb one-liners are released, and lots of silly kills are done, and lots of silly gadgets, but the movie unfolds in a very entertaining, brisk pace, and when it's all said and done, of course, the fireman saves the day against evil Powers Booth, who Powers is hamming it up big time in this movie, and he's having a lot of fun doing it, as he always does when he plays a villain. But the concept of this movie is pretty ridiculous overall. Terrorists taking over Game 7 with the vice president there. But you got a lot of these movies back in the early 90s, these Die Hard clones, and this was one of them. And that's what we're fixing to talk about. I think I actually saw this in theaters. I kind of remember seeing it in theaters when I was in high school. I'm like, yeah, I'll go see it. And I remember thinking then, walking out like, oh, that's just Die Hard at a hockey arena. I didn't take much mirrors with it, And now looking back on it, I'm like, this is actually a pretty fucking entertaining movie, with a lot of fun stuff in it. When was the first time you guys? I know you've seen it. I know you didn't have time to watch it this week as you were throwing in the show, but I know you guys have seen this movie.
Matt?
Yeah, no, I know I saw it back in the 90s. It was or late 90s. It was on cable once, and I always remembered that he had to become a hockey player on the arena, and I remember
that part is so stupid.
Yeah, and so to refresh it, I bought this last year because we had started talking about Die Hard clones. So I bought like a couple Die Hard clones last year, and that was this movie and Under Siege. This is definitely, I feel like this is a better movie than Under Siege. It definitely, but Under Siege does have better hoo-has in it for sure. But yeah, man, I feel like I really watched it last year because I kind of discarded this whenever I was younger, and as just another Jean-Claude Van Damme flick. And no, it's a good Die Hard clone movie. I like it. Long, you remember last time you've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Yeah. Crazy
you guys
how
aren't selling it to me, unfortunately. I'm joking.
No, so they introduce
it sounds like an interesting concept actually in the hockey arena.
Yeah, so they introduce a pain, like kind of like a traumatic element to Jean-Claude. He couldn't save a little girl. And so they took him out of action. He's kind of, he's doing this gig right now because he's taken out of the field because he failed to save the little girl. And so now
Um,
Kind of like Cliff Jumper.
Kind of like Cliffhanger. He couldn't save the girl. And no, but he doesn't want to quit. He's just just out of the field. But I like his Mustang. He's got a gold 68 Mustang like my dad used to have. And he goes into this hockey arena, happens to have played hockey before, and he notices that his daughter's gone. He finds the mascot, and the mascot really took the daughter upstairs to be with the other hostages, and so he has to fight the mascot. And if you are just watching TV and you're seeing this unfold, it's like you're watching someone fight a Sesame Street character, or you're watching like the scene in Ace Ventura whenever he just starts punching out the mascot in Ace Ventura at the end of the movie. But if you're watching the movie, if you're watching it and it's in the context, it makes sense. And it's not really, it's silly, but it's not silly. And then the very gruesome death with the mascot. He throws the mascot. Yeah. Throws the mascot in the dishwasher. The dishwasher is in the wall, and it's the track starts actuating, and it catches the head of the mascot, and it starts pulling her, and she's like choking to death. And then he comes back, and her body's gone. It's crazy, but yeah, that, and then there's so many double crosses. There's like the fake security guard, and then the FBI agent,
the detective, whose name is Hallmark.
Yeah,
and it's like someone reading Hallmark cards when they wrote the script. We're going to name him Hallmark, and of course he's a bad guy.
Yes, and he gets set on fire very, very gruesomely. Jean-Claude Van Damme sets him on fire. He doesn't do a whole lot of like kicks and stuff. He does some, but it's not like your traditional Jean-Claude Van Damme flick, like Double Impact, or Time Cop, or Bloodsport, or Lionheart, where he's kicking, he's doing the splits. None of that really. I mean, he does some fighting, but a lot of it is running and trying to be a little stealthier. He does find the bombs that are in this arena and disarms most of them.
By luck, because he figures out how to disarm the first one.
Oh yeah, he looks at it with his little side eye, tries to hide around the corner, and hopes that it works, and it does.
Right.
Powers Booth, man,
dude, he has the best part in the movie. Even though this movie is a Jean-Claude Van Damme starring movie, Powers Booth, who plays Joshua, has the best part. Like I was reading like some of his quotes, like he kills the mayor and he goes, "The mayor's decided not to run for re-election." It's like, what? And there's one part where the secret agent tells him he needs a doctor, and he shoots a guy. He goes, "Not anymore." It's just like he gets all the best lines in the movie.
He is not Alan Rickman, but he is not far from Alan Rickman as far as like his ability to play an effective bad guy.
Yeah, and he probably watched Die Hard to say, how did Rickman play it? Because he definitely borrows from it.
Yes.
But Powers is a lot of fun in this movie. You can tell he's just having a good time. This is coming off of him playing Curly Bill in Tombstone, who is a great bad guy in that film. And then he goes on to play a great bad guy in this film. And, and he has a lot of fun in this movie, and he gets the best lines. He's ultra evil too. He doesn't give a shit who he kills or what he's going to do. He even makes a comment where the guy tells him, "I don't think a guy who has a $10,000 wristwatch would really blow himself up." And he just says it's actually a $15,000 wristwatch. Like he just doesn't give a shit. He's like, I will bark right back at you anything you tell me. And then doesn't he basically, isn't there a line in the movie where he goes, "So this is all about money?" And he's like, "Yeah. What did you think it was?" Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, even though there's a lot of elaborate, double crosses, it's really simply about the money, and that's it.
And but he does have a pretty cool, I think his death is cooler than Alan Rickman's in Die Hard.
What was his death?
Okay, so they set it up where they try to escape from the roof through a helicopter, and of course Van Damme's character McCord is up there to stop him because he captures his daughter, recaptures his daughter, And so McCord stops him and he causes the helicopter. He shoots up into the helicopter, so he shoots the pilot, so the helicopter turns sideways, and it comes back down through the opening of the stadium and blows up on the ice. And you see Powers Booth's character looking like, as he falls to his death. So that's pretty cool. But I was wondering, why that hockey stadium conveniently had an opening roof for fireworks. I thought
The
that I've never
Civic
seen.
Center? Yeah.
I've never seen an arena like that. I guess there are some that are out there that have baseball and football stadiums, yeah, but I've never seen an arena that has a roof that opens partially.
Yeah.
There probably is one out there. I don't know. But I thought that was kind of cool, though, his death at the end. And McCord's Van Damme's not without his lines where he first meets Detective Hallmark and he goes, "Have you had contact with the hostiles?" "Well, I killed 2 of them. Is that contact?"
Yeah.
So he gets some McClane type lines in this as well. But it's overall it's a kind of just a fun, goofy movie. It's a film that you don't think too hard to watch. You just sit back and kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, you mentioned the funny quotes. The announcers have funny quotes as well. It's so loud in here, I can barely hear myself think. You don't have to think, Mike. It's hockey. He hit his head on the ice. He hit it so hard that his kids will be born dizzy.
Now, the part where he goes into the locker room, so the goalie for the Penguins, because it's supposed to be like in Pittsburgh,
yes,
goes in the locker room because he's been sick with the flu. So the backup goalie is in there. So when Van Damme is in the locker room fighting the terrorists, he disguises himself as a goalie, and he sneaks back onto the ice, and they think that the character of Tolliver's back in the game. And he actually goes out there during the game and blocks a couple of goals as they're coming towards him. And that whole part is just so kind of like just dumb. And he looks up at his son and he makes the "I love you" sign to his son. His son's like, "Oh, my dad's in the game." So that whole part's kind of a little bit too cheesy to an extent, but
yeah.
but it's fine. I thought his little homemade weapon he made was cool with the tubing and the wrist blow dart into the bad guy's mouth and or into his throat. That was kind of cool. But it's a Die Hard clone, full on.
They even tried to get Bruce Willis to play in this film. Yeah, but he was doing Die Hard with a vengeance. He was the 3rd pick. They wanted Arnold. Arnold said, "No, I just filmed True Lies and Junior. I'm not doing a 3rd film back to back. I need a break." They went to Stallone. Stallone didn't really like the script. So then they went to Bruce, and then, but Bruce was doing Die Hard 3. So they went to Jean-Claude.
I always find it interesting a guy like Stallone said he didn't like the script, but this is a guy who made,
Cobra,
Oscar. Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, like you're suddenly picky about your scripts. I always find those kind of quotes interesting.
So ain't you got a mansion mortgage to pay?
Exactly.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to take the job.
But it shows you that Die Hard was such a massive hit, and then the sequel that came out in 1990, that studios like in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were looking for the next Pulp Fiction. They were looking for that next crime film. What's the next big one? And in the 90s, it was what's the next Die Hard film? And and we got some good ones. And so we thought we would throw a little top 5 list together of our top 5 Die Hard clones. And Long's just going to kind of tag along and give his thoughts on these with us, and that's okay. And I'm just going to start right now. And my number 5 is Sudden Death. I think it's one of the better Die Hard clones. And I found this movie rewatching this week. I found it very enjoyable. I still like it.
What's that set on?
I think it holds up well. Huh?
What is that set on? Oh, we were just talking about it.
I just picked it as my number 5 as
my
favorite Die Hard clone. I think it's a fun film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Cliffhanger as my number 5. Die Hard on a Mountain with Stallone, Rondo. I can't think of his name right now, and of course John Lithgow, as they attempt to steal the U.S. Treasury unmarked bills and hold the Rangers ransom as hostage, and Stallone kills people with the friggin' icicle.
I think I only saw that like one time. I just don't recall it all. I'm sure it was good. I think I've only seen it like one time.
I remember watching it. My dad would climb mountains, and I was like, "Well, I wonder if my dad could do this." Like. But yeah, that's my number 5.
My next one this is a more recent one, but I think it's really good, and I think that's Olympus Has Fallen, where they take over the White House, and Gerard Butler has to stop them as a Secret Service agent. The sequel's not so much that they made; it's turning into it. In fact, I think there's a 4th one coming out now. London Has Fallen, then Angel Has Fallen, and now there's another one. I didn't like the sequels, but I really liked Olympus Has Fallen. And, it came around the same time as White House Down did. White House Down was too ridiculous for me, where they're driving the freaking car through the White House yard and all that. It was just kind of too stupid.
Yeah.
Olympus Has Fallen had a little bit more grounded reality to it. And I actually really liked that film. And I thought it was a good, enjoyable Die Hard clone. And I think I enjoyed it because we hadn't had a Die Hard clone in several years. So Olympus Has Fallen came out, and it kind of, okay, it's cool to see this genre again.
Yeah. I have not seen the Olympus films, but I've heard they're pretty entertaining. But I went ahead and maybe I have this too low, so don't knock on me. It's still in the top 5. I have Air Force One as number 4.
As long as you don't have Under Siege above it, then you're okay.
No. No. But yeah, Harrison Ford, get off my plane. I remember that movie, and they made I used to watch NCIS. They even made a clone episode off of the Air Force One. They had watched the Air Force One movie and tried to pull off the same heist that they did.
I never saw it, but I remember hearing about that episode.
Yeah.
We talked about this in our post show last week. Is this truly a Die Hard clone? And I don't completely agree it is, but yet it has the same elements only because it's just one bad guy, but that is Speed. It's kind of Die Hard on a bus, but it also feels a little bit, I think why Speed is so good is because it's not a direct Die Hard clone. It's more like this disgruntled ex-cop is just holding people hostage for ransom. It's not really terrorist, but I think you can't leave it off the list either if you're talking Die Hard clones. I think that's fair. Even though it's not a direct Die Hard clone, because it has I think Speed has a more original element to it than some of the other films that are clones of Die Hard. So I put Speed at number 3.
I put this movie that we just talked about as number 3. I went ahead and put Sudden Death as number 3. I like it a lot. Of course, watched it again this week, and I like it. I think it's come pretty close to being, the next best thing, the great value, but a better great value.
The Family Dollar.
Yeah, the Family Dollar version, but really good elements. Sudden Death.
Okay, at 2, I have Air Force One, which you mentioned. Great performance from Gary Oldman. Harrison Ford as a president was still one of the best presidential movie presidents we ever had because he kicks a lot of ass. And
yes,
we need to do it on the podcast one day. We need to do Air Force One. We've never done it. That's all I have to say about that.
I want to make a little comment about Air Force One. I think it was a very entertaining movie 3/4 of the way. But for me, I mean, Gary Oldman was great as a villain, but it kind of got tiring when he kept doing head executions throughout the movie. It felt like it's a little overkill on, like, bullet to the head type executions. And the pretty bad CGI, of course, of the plane crashing. It didn't hold up very well, of course. But
mid-90s, you're gonna have to forgive it, I guess.
But there were a lot of things in the 90s that were good too.
Right.
Yeah.
It's forgivable.
Yeah. I have Speed as number 2. I really like Speed, and maybe that's because I saw it whenever like shortly after it came out, and I wasn't supposed to. But I just thought Keanu Reeves was really good in the film. I like the philosophy where he's like, shoot the hostage. He's like, what do you do? What do you do if he's got a hostage? Shoot the hostage. Take him out of the equation. And he's like, Jeff Daniels is like, you're nuts. But I like him as a hotshot cop and trying to keep everybody calm on the bus. And Dennis Hopper's a good villain too.
My number one is, and sue me for this, but I like this movie better than I like Die Hard, and that's The Rock. No, The Rock, man.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie. It's probably my favorite Michael Bay movie. It's probably one of my favorite action movies of the '90s. I think The Rock is great, man. It's got, of course, Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, and fuck, man, what's his name? What, Ed Harris?
Harris.
Such a great cast, man. And it's like it's absolutely the best of the Die Hard clones. I think there's no question. And Michael Biehn, of course, is in it. Great action sequences. It's before Michael Bay was given huge budgets and blow a bunch of shit up. It was more of a toned down. Let's tell a good movie with good action sequences. Michael Bay, which he showed he could do, and Nicolas Cage at the top of his popularity and top of his game whenever he made this film. And I love The Rock, man. I think I watch it at least once a year. I mean, that's how much I like The Rock.
Yeah, no, I also went with The Rock. I mean, you got friggin' Sean Connery in the film. He's got great quotes. He's like, try your best. Losers try their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
That's going to take every fucking chance he gets in all these episodes to do a Sean Connery impersonation.
They don't come often, but when they do, I will be there. But yeah, man, it has to be The Rock. You can't deny The Rock. If Con Air was a little closer to a Die Hard film, then maybe Con Air would have been the only competition.
Well,
for The
and
Rock.
my thing with, and I love Con Air, and my thing with Con Air is though they take over the plane to escape. They're not like taking over the plane for money or anything like that. They're just trying to escape, and so it's not quite the same as terrorists,
Exactly.
But Con Air, I love Con Air, but yeah, man, The Rock is awesome. But that was fun, man. Watching Sudden Death, talking some Die Hard clones, and that kind of movie won't go away. I'm sure there's more coming. It's always it's like a guaranteed most of the time box office success to make that kind of movie where terrorists do something because people like to watch that kind of stuff, and it's usually pretty fun if you have the right actors and a decent story with it.
Yeah.
Long, any thoughts on our top 5?
I was trying to rack my brain. That was kind of popular, but not mentioned very often, underrated nowadays. And let me think. But Matt already mentioned Con Air.
Executive Decision?
Oh, Executive Decision. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I actually like that one because Steven Seagal died in that film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what's funny is when I was looking up lists of like Die Hard clones and stuff. Strangely, Executive Decision wasn't on a lot of them.
How about Passenger 57? I thought that was a good movie.
Passenger 57 showed up. It showed up on a few lists.
Yeah,
I saw that.
That's an underrated film right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that film with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's definitely a genre that has had its similar films, a lot of clones of it. But
Airheads,
Airheads, really.
Die Hard in a recording studio.
Long punch to your left. So it looks like you're punching Matt in the fucking video stream.
I'll just slap him like that.
Slap fight.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, before we get out of here, next week we're going to cover a Guy Ritchie movie that stars Henry Cavill. And I think, Matt, I mentioned this to you, even though I didn't give you the actual week we were doing this movie. Because I feel like it flows well after the movie we did today. Because I know we were talking doing Way of the Dragon with Bruce Lee, and that might be the week after next. But so next week we're going to cover Guy Ritchie's film based on the very popular TV series starring Henry Cavill, and that is The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I only saw this once, man. I really remember liking it. I know it stars Armie Hammer in it, who's also in it. He's kind of became a creep shortly after this movie came out, with whatever allegations were against him. But that doesn't hold the movie back from being a very entertaining, very solid film with a good performance from both of him and Henry Cavill. So it'll be a fun one to watch. It's on Netflix, Matt. So do not go spend money and rent it like you always do.
No.
And watch along with us, and we'll discuss the Man from U.N.C.L.E. next week. It's one that you get a lot of movies that are based on television products and things like that over the years. Some are very successful, like the Mission Impossible franchise, and a lot of them aren't very good. But the Man from U.N.C.L.E. I think is one of the better ones. I think it's a pretty solid film. And I think they wanted to spawn a franchise from it, but then of course Armie Hammer got in trouble, and Henry Cavill has gone on to do other things. So Guy Ritchie had talked about that before. He didn't think there would be another one, since things just kind of didn't work out the way he wanted to. But so we'll talk to Man from U.N.C.L.E. next week on the show. But until then, the RebelRadioPodcast.com, as always, for all your Rebel Radio needs. And we thank you as always for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
This is Long.
Remember, as always, just go there and do it.